Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our brother, and the message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story? Is hidden identity. Brother Nashi, this is my own story. So when I came here to South Africa, it was because of my young brother. My brother came here to South Africa and he started working for this other white man. So at that time, our boss, he used to have this company where they would go around installing some DSTVs into people's homes. And when I came here, I then started working for my young brother's boss, and from there on, he started installing Wi-Fi's at people's homes. So what my young brother was doing all of these years, he would go around and he would see and check the time that he would come to your house to install the DSTV or the Wi-Fi to see if there is anything that he can later come back and steal. But it was not only my young brother, but he was dealing with this other gang, and this is what they were doing. So there was a time when we went to work at this other Sangoma's house, and a South African traditional healer, we wanted a Wi-Fi at his house. We went there. So what we did not know was that the moment that we were busy working, my young brother was busy going around just checking. He then stole a tools box and he loaded it on our boss's car. Then later in the evening, he then came back with his gang and they stole some items from that traditional healer's house. So now what is happening is that amongst the gang which he came to steal with from that traditional healer's house, my brother, he is the only one who is going mad. My brother is running mad, and we do not know what are we supposed to do. We have since returned back to that traditional healer to ask for his forgiveness. We have told him that at least if he can forgive my young brother, then we will be willing to pay him. But this man, he told us that he wants a lot of money. The money that he wants, I can never afford to pay that money. We then said, it is fine. Why don't you go to the police station? And if you go to the police station, then you can get him arrested. And we were like, maybe if he gets arrested, then God is going to feel sorry for him because he would have paid his sins. But when I told that traditional healer to go to the police station because this young man, he is suffering, then that traditional healer said that I was going to pay. Brother Nashi, right now in my own home, there is no peace. There is no peace that is there between me and my wife. So all of the money that I worked for during the month of June, all of it, I took it and I went and I gave it to that South African Sangoma because he said that I was supposed to pay him. After I had told myself that I was going to ignore him, there is nothing that he can do to me, then I received a phone call. This was from the school where my child is going to, and I was told that my child was not okay. My child was sick. He was like running mad. So I then went and I gave this traditional healer all the money that I worked for. So right now there is no peace. If there is anyone who can assist my young brother, please help me out. We even tried to force my young brother to go back to Zim. When he refused, I then went to the taxi rank and I spoke with those guys that are always at the taxi rank, and I told them that we wanted to force my young brother to return back home to Zim. After I had spoken with those guys at the taxi rank, they said that this was quite easy. All that I had to do was to bring my young brother on the day that the bus from Zim will be around. So those taxi drivers, they tried to assist me. We went to the taxi rank and they then took my young brother. They were like holding him, but they failed to make him to go onto the bus until I got so scared and I saw that with the way that he was very powerful, he could even damage people's property. And I then told them to just leave him. And the moment that they just left him, my brother was okay. We then did an Uber and we returned back home. And he was acting as if he was a normal guy. This is what he does. He can even go to work and you won't even think that he is running mad. But when you start to talk to him, then you'll see that this young boy is no longer okay upstairs. So if there is anyone who is willing to help me, to help my young brother, please help me so that my young brother can be okay. As for the money that the traditional healer told us to pay him so that he can release my young brother, we do not have that money. It is just too much for us. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our brother right there. Please let us speak with him in the comment section. Then there is another message that was sent to me by our sister. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So my brother, I was told that when I was still very young, I used to go to my uncle's place, and each and every time when I would go to my uncle's place, my uncle's wife will cook some food for me. But this food that she will give me, she would have mixed the food with some herbs, and these charms, they were there so as to make sure that the marine spirits that were said to be on me, they can be weakened, because I was supposed to become a wealthy woman because I was born with the gift of the marine spirits. But my uncle and his wife saw that I had this gift of the marine spirits. Then they stole those marine spirits from me after they had gone and visited a traditional healer. So my brother, when I came here to South Africa, I saw that the way that I was suffering, it was just too much. Then my mother told me that she was going to speak with this other traditional healer who was going to do a ritual to return back those marine spirits to me. It then happened that my cousin sister, who was said to have been given those same marine spirits by her parents, she then went to Canada. She went to Canada as a refugee. So after she had gotten her passport, unfortunately, she cannot visit Zim anymore since she went there as an asylum seeker. So she has a house here in South Africa. So what she does is that whenever she wants to see her relatives, she comes to South Africa, and then we would go to her house, then we will see her. This cousin sister of ours who was there in Canada, she started to have a lot of dreams. This was after she had told us that she had met this other woman who told her that she also had the marine spirits. She was made to join these other WhatsApp groups that are for women that are in Canada, that are from Zim, that have these marine spirits. So she joined that group. After she had joined that group, that was when she started to have a lot of dreams, and she would see our auntie who passed away. So our auntie was telling her to return back to Zim. It then happened that as a family, we thought that we were supposed to do a ceremony which is called Kurova Guva, whereby we'll be preparing and laying some tombstones on the graves of our loved ones. So she then returned back to South Africa. And when she came back here, then she was supposed to be there for the ceremony. Unfortunately, she was really scared because we were supposed to make her jump the border from South Africa to Zim and return back, since she cannot go through the border because she went to Canada as a refugee. And along the way, when we wanted to travel back to Zim, there was too much police on the road, and she panicked and she said, guys, I cannot go to Zim. And she returned back to her house in Johannesburg. So what we had done at her house in Johannesburg, we had been told that we were supposed to take some soil from her property there in Johannesburg, and I was given that task. Since I was the one who had been given that task to take some soil from her grave that we were going to use for the ceremony, since she could not be with us in Zim, then I took that soil and I placed it in a small container. So at the place where the bus dropped us off when we were in Zim, when no one was looking at me, I quickly took some soil and I removed the soil from that container and I placed it on a piece of paper. And I took that soil that I had taken from the place where the bus had dropped us off whilst people were still busy looking for their bags, and I just hid the soil that I had taken in Joburg. When we arrived at our compound, I then went into my mother's bedroom and I hid the soil that I had taken from my cousin sister's house, and I then swapped the soil and I gave it to my relatives. So we then used this soil, and people were thinking that this soil was the one that we had taken from her house in Johannesburg. So our auntie, the one that my cousin's sister is named after, she had her property, and she said that after she would have died, since she did not have a child, she wanted that property to be sold. So that property had been sold, and my father had refused to send the money to her via bank because he had done some rituals on that money. So for these rituals to work, my father was supposed to give her this money physically, because our auntie had said that she also wanted our cousin's sister to be given part of this money after we would have sold this house. So me and my mother, we then did the rituals. After we had laid the tombstones on our grandmother's grave, me and my mother, late at night, we then went to the grave where we sprinkled that soil on the graves, and we then took that money that I was supposed to take with me back to South Africa, and we placed it on top of that grave, and we placed a lot of curses on my cousin's sister. We laid this money on top of our auntie's grave, and we then started to speak with our auntie's spirit. So the way that we spoke with our auntie's spirit, it was as if our cousin's sister had forced us to sell her house, and after she had forced us to sell the house, she had eaten all of the money. So we wanted her spirit to wake up and to fight against our cousin's sister. We then showed her the money, and we said that this is the money that is only remaining after she sold this house of yours, and she ate all of the money. We then left that money on top of the grave. Then early in the morning, we went and we picked up that money. So what my mother did is that when we were having a family meeting, that was when she called one of our cousin sister's brother, and she gave that money to our cousin brother to show everyone that this money, there were no rituals that had been done on that money. And after that, then I was given that money by our cousin brother so that I can give it to his sister. We returned back to South Africa, and I gave that same money that we had laid on top of our auntie's grave to our cousin sister. She then left South Africa for Canada. When she arrived in Canada, she then started to run mad. When I heard that my cousin sister was running mad in Canada, then I reversed the curse because I felt so sorry for her. But as for my mother has no mercy. She does not show any mercy to anyone. She wants our cousin sister to suffer. So my mother said that she will never feel sorry for my cousin sister because of what her parents did. And she said to me, how can you ever feel sorry for someone who is living the life that you are supposed to live? Oh, dear listeners, right there was a narration of a message that was sent to me, hoping that you were able to understand that translation.